All right, so I wanted to create a little training on something that you probably saw when you came into the program briefly and then probably completely forgot about. So I want to circle back to the four tendencies. If this is not familiar at all, then I will explain what it is. But if you remember, we actually asked for it on your intake form. We asked you to do the quiz. We asked you to, it's a really quick quiz, and we asked you to tell us what your result was from the quiz. And so if you've heard of the four tendencies before, it's a personality quiz by Gretchen Rubin that has four different tendencies that really explain how someone responds to expectations. And when we're talking about habit change, we're talking about accountability, we're talking about consistency, I think this information is critical to understand about yourself because it's going to make the world of difference in how you show up and what systems and structures you need to have in place in order to be successful. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and show you what they are again, in case you forgot, or you don't know what, maybe don't know what the other ones are. And maybe just by seeing this, I don't know if you've done personality tests before, but if you're like me, you don't even need to take the quiz. You just like look at the answers and you already know which one you are. That was how I was when I did the Enneagram. I was like, I never took the quiz. I was like, that is me. I'm a type 3, by the way, if you couldn't guess. So four tendencies. This is something I learned about a long time ago. And I love it for the health space because it's just so relevant to our behaviors that we're trying to change, the lifestyle changes we're trying to make. So the four different options here are, we have upholder, meets outer expectations and inner expectations. I'm an upholder. Then we have obliger. This one's a really interesting one if you get this one, in terms of the things that you want to set up, and we'll talk about that. But obliger meets outer expectations but resists inner expectations. So this means you are more likely to show up for someone else than yourself. Questioner, which we definitely see come up within our clients, the ones who are just, they want to know all the answers before they take action. So resist outer expectations, but meets inner expectations. And then rebel, doesn't do any of it. And I will say it's really interesting. I will say the majority of people who we work with probably fall into these three. But if you're a rebel, that means you resist outer and inner expectations. Just no one can tell you what to do. So looking at these, this is really, really interesting information about yourself to understand how you show up for something. So I want you to take this information and think about areas where you're struggling to be consistent. I think a great example of this is working out. And so I think, and I'm actually going to build an entire module on how you can use this information when working out. But working out's a great example. So if you are struggling to stay motivated to work out, think about these things. Why are you struggling to stay motivated? Is it because you don't have the inner accountability? You need external accountability. That's what obliger means. You need, so think about obliger as well. Like you need external deadlines. You need like someone putting like a deadline on you, someone signing something to you. You need external accountability on something. If it were up to you, you just wouldn't get it done. So if you're an obliger, you need to show up for something like a group workout. You need to show up for something. You need a walking buddy. You need a gym buddy. You need someone else holding you accountable to show up to work out, because if it's up to you, it's not going to get done. And I don't mean that to be rude or cynical. I just mean this is the type of thing that you would see being an obliger. So think about the areas in your health routines where you are struggling to find motivation, where you are struggling to be consistent, and think about, okay, well, let me think back to my personality type, and what do I need to set up in order to be successful? How do I leverage my personality type to work for me, rather than just like hustling, like working against something that's just never going to click for you because it's just not your personality type. So that's a quick summary. If you haven't taken the quiz, again, it's a very short quiz. Also, Gretchen Rubin has a book and podcast. There's a whole Four Tendencies book I encourage you to read, really good. She also has a podcast, and you may have heard the name. You may be familiar with this also. I know there's a ton of personality tests out there. There is, there's just a ton, but I really, really like this one. I think it's so relevant to the work we're doing. So go take your test if you don't remember what you are. It's something I put in the coaching curriculum or the intake form originally, because I think it's just so valuable for your coach to know also. So your coach has that information too if you filled it out. But go take your quiz and then check back with yourself on areas where you're struggling to be motivated and see what structures you need to build in to work with your personality rather than work against it.